Right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Hashem, Kokadash, and Heavenly Father. The true name is Yahweh, and His only begotten Son, Ba'Hashem, and the name of Mashiach Habashai. Those are the true names in ancient Paleo Hebrew. The Lashon Kadash Lotum, and I say Barak Thumb to the elders and apostles with Aqua, and I say Shalom. And this is a prophecy updates as of May the 1st, 2025 on this Thursday afternoon. It says rising tensions between India and Pakistan, latest developments. It says the Kashmir attack has sharply increased the risk of military confrontation between the two armed states. Right, and that's in that what's that, Matthews 24 and verse 7, the nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. And this is a news article as of May the 1st, 2025, and it reads, Pentagon chief threatens Iran Houthis attacks. Tehran knows very well that what the U.S. military is capable of, Pete Hegseth has said. Right, this is another sign of wars, rumors of wars, because we already been seeing the tensions been heating up, between Iran and Israel, and the pro-Iranian groups going against the air defense force as well too. It says, with the ongoing talks between, the United States and Iran, and then the United States been warning United States been warning Iran for continue to support Houthi rebels, which they most likely is going to continue to support them, and the pro-Iranian of Houthi rebels going to continue to support Hamas and the pro-Iranian groups in Iran as well too. It says the U.S. Defense Secretary has blamed Iran for aiming Houthi fighters in Yemen, warning that Tehran will face consequences at the time and places Washington choosing. It says U.S. President Donald Trump has launched a large-scale air and naval strikes campaign against the Houthis in March, with a declared goal of protecting shipping in the Red Sea. It says the groups, which Washington described as Iran-backed, has been targeting the commercial vessels off of Yemen's coast as part of its strategy of putting pressure on Israel over its military operation in Gaza. Hegseth addressed Tehran in a message on X on Thursday, saying, "We will see your lethal support to the Houthis. We know exactly what you are doing. You are very well. You are very well what the U.S. military is capable of, and you are warned. You will be paid the consequences at the time and place of our choosing," he wrote, the Pentagon chief. And keep this in mind, you had recently the Trump administration warned Iran as well too. And now you got the Secretary of State once again warning Iran. And then keep this in mind, you had the leader over there in Iran, he mentioned about he's kind of being very precise of with these these talks and these meetings between Iran and the United States. But that's still going to show Iran this military capability, and that's still going to show Iran going to continue building up their military capability and their nuclear capability as well too, as the ongoing intentions that they have towards Israel Defense Force. It says so as you had the leader of Iran, he was saying previously, say he's not going to take any warnings likely. He's going to definitely consider that, because all their options are on the table as well too, just like the United States mentioned that as well too, because they warned Iran once again, even though they having these ongoing talks, was telling them, just like the secretary just mentioned, as he quoted, telling if Iran continues to support the Houthi rebels, there's going to be serious consequences of that. But, Iran is definitely going to respond back to that as well too, if it's from economic sanctions or a military response on both sides. As I add a side note to that, it says the Pentagon chief has also shared a screenshot of the public by Trump on his Truth Social. platform in mid-March, in what he insists that Iran dedicated every move Houthi, as well as to supplying them with weapons, fund, and intelligence. Every shot fired by the Houthis will be looked upon from this point forward as being a shot fired from the weapons and the leadership of Iran, the U.S. president wrote back then. Tehran has previously categorically denied Washington's claims of directing the actions of the Yemen groups. It says the Houthis, as the representation of the Yemenis, make its own strategic decisions, and Iran has no role in setting the national or operational policies of any movement in the resistance front. Iran's Iran's Revolution Guard Corps, the IRGC, Commander Hassan Samali said following the launch of the U.S. bombings, the latest rounds of American strikes on the Yemen took place on Tuesday, as the first time saw British aircraft joining the raids. According to the Royal Air Force, the attacks target the Houthi drone manufacturing facilities south of the country's capital of SANAA. On Monday, the U.S. Navy said that the F-A-18 Super Hornet fighter jet has been lost after it fell aboard from the USS Harris S. Truman aircraft carrier stationed in the Red Sea, according to the multiple media reports on the incident happened when the vessel was maneuvered to evade the missiles attack from Yemen. Also on Monday, the Houthi link broadcaster Al Marshal reported that the U.S. strike hits a migrant detention center in SANAA, killing at least 68 African refugees and injuring a dozen more. A U.S. defense officials said the Pentagon was aware of the claims about civilian casualties during his phone call with the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio in March. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov emphasized the needs of an immediate cessation of the use of force and the importance of all parties to engage in political dialogue, aiming to finding a solution that includes further bloodshed, according to the readout by Moscow. And this is the book of Matthews. It's the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, right? Iran versus Israel Defense Force, and the pro-Iranian groups going against the Israel Defense Force, and the warnings that Iran been having for the United States for quite a while, and as recently as Iran been sending back warnings to the United States as well too, and towards the Western countries, and towards the IDF. So these are signs of wars and rumors of wars, despite the fact that the Western countries and the United States been having talks with Iran, trying to de-escalate tensions and try to come with a nuclear deal, which was the last nuclear deal was in 2015. And this is Matthews 24, verse 6. And ye shall hear wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must first come to pass, but the end is not yet. Right, so these are going to be increasing signs of wars and rumors of wars. It's not gonna end just yet, but it's gonna come to pass though. Matthews 24, verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. Right, that's what we're seeing. Nations are rising against nation, which goes into ethnos, and we're seeing signs of that. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. Right, so increasing famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places, and nation against nation and kingdom against kingdom, which is going to continue to increase. As it says again, Pentagon chief threatens Iran amending the Houthi attacks. It says U.S. rejects Ukraine security guarantee demands, even though they signed that what's that mineral deal. It says Ukraine hit by new military corruption scandal. It says thousands march against the pro EU government in what's they call that? Moldov. Right as you have that May Day protests are taking place around the world. It says Ukraine willing to de facto give up land to Russia. Trump envoy reports. It says India closes airspace to Pakistan linked aircraft, right with the ongoing tensions between India and Pakistan. It says Ukraine drone targets civilians at a bus market, governor reports. It's the book of Luke 21 and verse 25. It's the book of Luke 21, verse 25. It says, and there shall be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars upon the earth. Disgressive nations will perplex the seas run. Right, so that's what we're seeing, increasing the disgressive nations. Just like this May Day protest that's taking place around the world. And we're seeing, over here in the United States and different parts around the world, with these protesters of May the 1st of May Day. So that's what you call wars and people in the world, disgressive nations will perplex the Caesar's roaring. And we see a nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, more seditions and uprisings, uproars, people in the world, and more citizens arise up against their leaders in power. And that's what we're seeing. Like it says in 2nd Edges 9 verse 3, which I'm about to bring out for edification's sake. This is the book of 2nd Edges, chapter 9 verse 3. It says, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars people in the world, right? So we're going to be seeing more increasing earthquakes and uproars people in the world. And I believe over there in Salt Lake City, Utah, they got hit with either it was a 3.9 or 4.2 earthquake. So we definitely seeing these high magnitude of these earthquakes in diverse places. Yep, it says, and there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars people in the world, right? So more increasing uproars people in the world and more increasing earthquakes. This is 2nd Edges, chapter 15. Yep, 2nd Edges 15 and verse 15. For the sword and destruction draweth nigh. It says, and one people should stand up and fight against another with swords in hands, right? We know the modern day swords weapons. So we're seeing seditions among the nations, which they were seeing that increasing. 2nd Edges 15 and verse 16. For there should be sedition among men, invading one another. They should not regard their kings nor their princes, and course actions stand in power. Right, so we're going to be seeing more increasing or uptick of sedition among men. We're seeing that increasing. And they shall not regard their kings or their princes, right? They should not regard their kings and their princes, the leaders in power. They doing protests against the leaders in power. Like it says in Isaiah 10 verse 1, due to the unrighteous creeds. So we definitely going to be seeing protests and seditions among the nations. And nations are rising up against their leaders in power. And that's what we see in our wars today. And this is, let's see. It's the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 3, verse 8, and it reads the Holy Scriptures. And a time to love, and a time of HATE, and a time of war, and a time of peace, right? So we're definitely living in a time of HATE, and a time of war as well, too. With the seditions and uprisings and uproars, people in the world, nation against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And this is the book of St. Mark, chapter 3, and verse 24, and it reads, and if a kingdom be divided against itself, the kingdom cannot stand. Right, as we're seeing, kingdoms being divided. With the seditions, uprisings, uproars, people in the world, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. And the disgressive nations will perplex the Caesar's roaring. And that's what we're seeing in our world today. Because you're going to have a kingdom within itself being divided. You're going to have a kingdom outside of another kingdom rising against another kingdom being divided. So that's what we're going to be seeing more significant signs of that. St. Mark 3 and verse 25. And if a house be divided against itself, the house cannot stand. Right, so modern day house has been divided against itself, which cannot stand. That's what we're seeing. Get back to some more news articles. Get back to some prophecy updates. Check the Jerusalem Post. It It says Druze protesters denounced Syrian violence like tires fire and block intersections in North Israel. Right, it goes into that Luke 21 verse 25. It says an earthquake of magnitude of a 5.83 struck the La Rajalia province of Argentina, GFC reports. Right, second Edges 9 verse 3. Psalms 18 verse 7, Isaiah 28 verse 2, and Isaiah 29. Yeah, Isaiah 28 verse 2 and Isaiah 29 verse 6. With the in Luke 21 verse 11, which is earthquakes in diverse places. It says the IDF strike kills 3 Lebanon, in Lebanon 7 in Gaza. Let's go to the Middle East, which is Western Asia. It says the Syrian Druze community pleads for international assistance after sectarian violence continues. Right, that's that Luke 21 verse 25. So. This is Prophet Joel, chapter 3, verse 9. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. Wake up the mighty man, let all the men of war draw near and have to come up. Right, so the Heavenly Father continue to put that warlike mindset of these armies of nations. That's why we're seeing increasing nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, which is going to lead up to the Third World War. So we're seeing escalations are definitely heating up over there in Western Asia, throughout that whole region, and different parts around the world of nuclear escalations are increasing. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty man, let all the men of war draw near, have to come up. Joel 3 verse 10. Beat your plowshares and the swords, and plenty us in the spears, and let the weak son strong. Right, let the weak son strong. Of these armies of nations are in that warlike mindset. It's the book of Revelations 11 verse 14. The second will pass, behold, the third will come quickly. Right, so the second will pass, behold, the third will come quickly. What's Armageddon, Armageddon 1, which is going to lead up to World War 3. So we see significant signs of that. All right, get to some more news articles. It says Israeli drone strike kills 4 in Lebanon. Lebanese army reclaims more territory from Hezbollah. Victims of the Israeli attacks, including 3 people collecting scraps from damaged buildings and a former paramedic riding a motorcycle. Yep, this uproars of people in the world in Luke 21 verse 9 through verse 10 as well too. It says several countries sent fighter planes to Israel to help tackle major wildfires. I believe as of yesterday, I seen on the Jerusalem Post once again, I believe they arrested about like 18 people that caused, the cause of fire over there in that area. And it says the Syrian Druze leader al-Hajari slams the genocidal campaign Israel issue warning. Right, so another sign of wars and rumors of wars and the uproars of people in the world. That's what we're seeing. It says a Syrian Druze spiritual leader denounced the latest violence in the Jamrania and Sahanania, if I pronounce those right, near Damascus as an unjustifiable genocidal campaign. Right, because you have protests that have been taking place over there in northern, I would say east of northern Israel. It says violence was sparked by the circulation of a audio recording attributed to Druze citizens and deemed blasphemous. It says a Syrian Druze spiritual leader, Sheikh Hakim al-Hajra, on Tuesday condemned what he called a genocidal campaign against his community after 2 days of Syrian clashes left 101 people dead. It says the Israeli minister Israel Katz warned his country would respond with significant force if Syria's new authorities failed to protect the Druze minority. Once they hit airstrikes over there day before yesterday, it says, right, once they hit airstrikes over there in Syria, sending a warning to those groups over there in the area. So definitely, Syria is a hot zone area over there in the area, due to the fact that clashes between the proxy war clashes between the nations and different factors over there in the area. It says the violence pose a serious challenge to the new Syrian authorities who outlast longtime ruler Assad in December. It says it comes after a waves of massacres in March in Syria, the Al-Waq heartland on the Mediterranean coast, with security forces in line. An allied group killed more than 1,700 civilians, mostly Al-Waqs, according to the rights group. It was the worst bloodshed since the ouster of the Hassad, who is from the minority community. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Once again, this is the book of Luke. Yep, Luke 21 and verse 9. This is the book of Luke 21 verse 9. It said, "But when ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but then it's not by and by and by." Right, so we're going to be having proxy wars, back and forth on and off proxy wars, and escalations and tensions, and nuclear wars over there in the area, especially over there in Syria, because it's a hot zone area right now as we speak. Luke 21 verse 10, then say he unto them, nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. Right, so we're going to be seeing nation against nation and kingdom against kingdom. So we're seeing signs of that. Luke 21 verse 11, and great earthquakes shall be in diverse places, and famines and pestilence and fearful sights and great signs shall be for heaven. Right, so we're seeing increasing great earthquakes in diverse places, increasing famines, pestilence, and fearful sights and great signs shall that be from heaven. It's the book of St. Mark, chapter 13. Yep, St. Mark chapter 13, verse 7. It says, when ye shall hear of wars, it says, when ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, be ye not troubled, for such things must need be, but the end should not be yet. Right, so this is a precept to Matthew's 24, verse 6 to verse 7 to verse 8, and the book of Luke 21, verse 9 to verse 10 to verse 11. Right, so we're definitely going to be seeing these rising, increasing of these wars and rumors of wars that's heating up between the nations. And that's what we're seeing. That's going to build up to the third war's war. It says, and when ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, be ye not troubled, for such things need be, but the end should not be yet. St. Mark 13 verse 8, for nation shall rise against nation. Right, that's what we see in our world today. Nation shall rise against nation. That's why we're seeing the increasing seditions, uprisings, and the uproars people in the world. We're going to continue to see significant signs of that. It says, for nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be earthquakes in diverse places. And there shall be famines and pestilence. Famines and troubles. These are the beginning of sorrows, right? Beginning of sorrows of biblical signs and signs of times. And the prophecies about come to pass be fulfilled. So we're going to be continuing to see that increasing. And once again, this is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 3, verse 8. It says, in the time to love, in the time of HATE, in the time of war, time of peace, right? We're living those times of HATE, in the time of war as well, too. So with that, hopefully this prophecy update was edifying as of May the 1st, 2025, on this Thursday afternoon. So with that, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Hashem, Wakakadash, and the Heavenly Father. The true name is Yahweh, and His unbegotten Son, Ba'Hashem, and name of Mashiach Yahushua. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew. Allah Shwankadash tongue. And I say Barak Thumb to the elders and apostles with Akim Aqua. Until next time, I would say Shalom. So I think it's a little bit of a balance. Like, do I think of getting the Brock pretty on a